Hi, everyone. It's Diane Evans here with stampinwithdiane.com. I'm an independent Canadian Stampin' Up demonstrator here in the interior of British Columbia. So if this is one of your first times joining me, welcome. I'm so glad that you found me. Make sure that you do subscribe either to my YouTube video or like my page or be a member of the group, and then you'll get notified when I do go live. I really do appreciate that you do support me by leaving comments, and interaction is amazing. So today is Wednesday, and it's part of my mystery challenge. Now, in the past, I used to do mystery challenges where I used to give measurements, tell you where to put them, and everything else. But I changed that up because I found that it limited your creativity. It basically sort of didn't give you much room for creativity. So what I like to do is I like to give you 3 clues, and the 3 clues are something that you should have in your stash, or you can get quite creative. You can start thinking about ways that you could do things a little bit different. But in any event, I just hope that it does help you do your own creativity. Plus, use that stuff in your craft room, right? All right. So today, um, the um, the clues were a craft card. So a craft card could be. I'll show you some examples of what craft would be. Also, another one are dies. So this one specifically, one of the clues is to use dies, and the other one is harvest. Now, at this point, hello. At this point, it's really a really broad way of doing it, and I kind of like doing it that way because then it doesn't limit you as much. So I decided I was going to use this Cheerful basket. This is a bundle that can be found in the annual catalog on page 35, and I really hadn't had much of a chance to use it. And to me, apples always mean, here in Canada, at least, apples always mean a harvest. It's an apple harvest. So we're going to be using this particular ones, and the dies are so cute. And if you're into cats, that's amazing. But I love this part here, and I'm dying to do something with this that shows off creativity. Do you know what I mean? Like things that you can do that you craft together, right? All right. So let me show you a couple of things. Craft card could be where you could use the craft paper, where it's a 6x6 paper, or you could even use the craft note cards and envelopes that we have, or you could use a portion of it. Now, I went really liberal with my craft part, and the reason I did that was I thought, well, I want to show you that you can kind of steer off a little bit, use that creativity, right? So the dies part was easy because what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a basket. We're going to have some apples, and of course this is going to cut out the apple image. And then the other part, like I say, is the harvest with the apples. Now, another thing that I thought that I could add with it, and I have added with it, is the leaf fall dies. And I'll show you how that all is going to come together. Now, this is a photopolymer stamp set. So I'm going to need my paper piecing mat. All right. Let's just move that out of the way. I am going to use Very Vanilla for this particular card front because I think it goes quite well with the craft paper. Now, in all honesty, I used part of one of the craft note cards, and I ran it through that really pretty embossing folder, the leaf fall embossing folder, very subtle. And then also on this folder, it's really kind of neat that it has this space here. So I positioned this folder in such a way that I could do, if I do it this way, or let's see, I'm going to have the sentiment going up in that area, I believe. I could change my mind as we go along, right? All right. So like I say, we've used that as well. Now, there's some beautiful other stamp sets out there that you could use for harvest. And and some that are in the new ones, some that are in the old ones. There's a wheat one, and I can't even remember the name of it, but it's in the J to D mini catalog. All right, so this is thick basic white. It's 5.5 by 8.5, and I'm scored it at 4 1/4. I'm just going to go in and fold that, and I'm going to get a really good score line there. There we go. And I thought, what goes so nice with this is Poppy Parade. So I'm going to have a layer, and I think this layer is 3 3/4 by 5 inches. And then this piece happens to be 3.5 by 4 3/4 inches. And that's going to go on there, but I'm not going to put it on yet because I have a few other things that I want to do. Now, I was kind of, hi, Betty. I was kind of, I wasn't sure. Should I do my stamping on very vanilla or on white? The very vanilla I used, it does bleed a little bit, but I did use the thick, or I have the thick there. But I think I'm going to go ahead and do my stamping on the basic white because I'm going to do mainly coloring on it anyways. So let's bring in that paper piercing mat, and we're going to be coloring with blends. So I'm going to come in with my Memento, and I'm going to stamp the basket. Just going to stamp that like that. And I'm going to stamp the apples as well. And then what we're going to do is we are going to die cut those out. There's some really neat things that are in this die cut thing. There's a handle, but this would be if you're using this other basket there. Would be much better using that with the handle, because I tried putting the handle on here where this handle is on here and it didn't fit. So I'm just going to take that die out, and let's go ahead and take this die out for the basket. Like I say, I always, when I'm going to do any kind of coloring, I always make sure that I do my cutting out first. Chances are when I go to cut and I've done all that coloring, what happens is it tends to move on me. So we don't want that to happen. Now I'm using, this is Post-it note tape. It's amazing for keeping this in place. So just put this there. And then I'm just going to bring in my little Cut and Emboss, my baby Cut and Emboss. For anybody that lives in Canada, I have a thing going on tomorrow. It's going to be announced in a newsletter tomorrow. And I'm kind of excited about it. And it's about this mini Cut and Emboss. Let's just run that through. Oops. There we go. And then we can just take these off. Like I say, this Post-it note tape is amazing. You can use it over and over. Now, I also have on my desk here that you can't see is I have a magnetic plate. So when I'm using my die cuts, when I'm using on video, I tend to throw my dies in there so that I don't run into having problems with having to replace it. Now, another thing that I also did was on here, you can see, and I've already cut these out, there's some really, really cute, where are my dies again? Here they are. There's some really cute apples and some leaves on there. So I've already cut those out, and I have those in a little bin here. And I have gone ahead, and what I've done is I've attached the apples and the leaves, and I left one out so that I could show you how it's done. Very simple. Whoops. Be great. Oh, there it is. Oh, good. Okay, so I just went and put a tiny bit of liquid glue right on the back here, and I kind of let it sit for just a second. I let it set, And then I turned around and I put this leaf on here, and it is a little fiddly, so that's why I went ahead and did it before. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to put that into that bin there, and then that's ready to go. So I have my apples. I'm going to go with 3 apples. I use Poppy Parade, and that is Pear Pizzazz, the green that I used on there. All right. So I want to show you a tiny bit how I colored. I've gone ahead and I have colored, but I want to show you how I went and did the coloring on this. So I used Poppy Parade. I've used light and dark or light Old Olive. I think it was like a light Old Olive for the leaves. And of course, Poppy Parade, the light and dark. And I also used a So Saffron. I wanted my apples not quite to be ripe. So I just have some yellow. And like I say, I use, whoops, didn't want to go there, but that's okay. And I just got that tiny bit of yellow on the apples. And then I went in with my light Poppy Parade. And I'm coloring right down to the bottom here. Now, kind of flicked a bit towards where the yellow is. Just like that. You'll see once I start doing this how it's going to start blending in. We definitely need to have, see how I'm just flicking that off onto the yellow. And I might even cover up some of that yellow depending when I go back in there. Now, with the stamped images, it's amazing because you can go in, and now Stampin' Up has told us where to do our shading. So I'm just doing some shading in here. Just like that. That's just kind of giving us a bit more of the illusion of the apples, right? Being darker. You know what? I think I'm going to use this end a little bit. Just like that. And then we're going to go back in with the light, and we're just going to blend that because we don't want to see lines. And by going in and picking up some of that, the dark and the light, that gives us a chance of it blending and not seeing any lines. And then I'm going back in with the light So Saffron, and I want to kind of take those lines away from there. And by blending it, you're not really seeing the definite lines. Now, the thing is these leaves are there's hardly anything on them. So really at that point, you can put, I'm using Granny Apple Green. I could use the dark Granny Apple Green, but mine's dry. I've used it up. So I'm just going to come in with a tiny bit of the olive. This one is the dark. I don't think it'll matter. And I'm just coming in and just doing some of the lines. Whoops, there we go. And then coming back in with the Granny Apple Green and just blending those in so we don't see those lines as well. There. So there's our apples that are done. We've got those already cut out. Now it's the basket that is truly, truly amazing to color. And there's so many different ways of doing it. So I pulled in some of my neutral colors. I'm using light and dark crumb cake. I'm using number 300, number 400, and number 500 on this basket. And what I'm doing is I'm going to come in and we're going to give the illusion that this basket is round. So I'm just coming in with the light crumb cake. And I'm not doing the center part. And that's going to give the illusion of it being round. And then I'm going to come in. I think I'm going to use my number 300. I'm just going to come in and I'm just coloring here, under here, because that gives the shadows from there. I'm going to do that back and down there as well. Then I'm going to come back in with my light crumb cake. And what I want, whoops, I wanted to do some of this here too. I just want to put some just on this side. And like I say, when you start adding some of these other colors, it's quite amazing how it's going to blend together. And see how just bringing that down, using the crumb cake, how I've now got the illusion of this part with the shadowing on there. But we want to color that and seeing. And you know what? I think I'll just continue with this. Now I've gone ahead and I've already done the basket, but I wanted to show you how, see how that just blends right in. And of course, now we can just put a tiny bit of highlights in here. And it's amazing, just those tiny bit. Just, and we're going to come back in with our light crumb cake again. I'm picking this, because all baskets aren't all one color, right? They've got different highlights of colors. And we could put gray in here too, and the gray would give more of like a bleached out type of I'm going to just do the handle where it's fairly dark. Now, like I say, I could put other colors in there, but I think that's almost enough. I used a lot more colors on my other one. But there, that gives the illusion that we've got a round basket. All right, so we've kind of got that part together. That's probably the hardest part of the whole thing, is doing that. So now when I put this on here, we're going to put the basket on. And we're going to put our apples in there because we want it to look like it's popped up. So I'm going to go ahead and glue on my craft piece of paper. And I'm going to put my sentiment up at the top, up here. Just going to put this on here. Now, another thing that I always find with harvest and apples and that is there's lots of string around. There's a bunch of stuff in the orchards. You know, there's nothing like picking apples really in Quebec. Quebec, their apples are amazing. I mean, BC used to be known for their apples here in Canada, but honestly, the apples in Quebec are truly amazing. Okay, so I'm just going to pull this. And we're just going to tie a knot. They're different apples. They're just different tasting. They do so much pick your own apples in their orchards. I know Kamloops used to have an awful lot of orchards, but due to development and everything else, we've lost a lot of our orchards. Anyways, that's just going to add a bit of there. So let's go ahead and we're going to pop up that. So like I say, mystery challenge. I'm dying to see what you've done. There's a beautiful wheat stamp set and dies in the JDD mini catalog. Okay, this is just going to go on here. And you notice I've got that popped up. Now, with these apples, what's going to happen is the apples are going to go behind, and I can just glue that on. Whoops. We're going to have issues with that. That's not taken off. Okay, so there's that. And then we can go ahead and we can put some of these apples down here. So and let's put another one down here. We'll put it right down onto the thing. And I want to put 3 on because I think we kind of need to have 3. Let's go there. And then this apple can come over here. And I'm going to have to put a little tiny dimensional on there. Oops. Now I think I want it on that side. So let me double check. Yeah. Just going to put it right there. And then this can go right onto this side here. So just go ahead and glue that part on. So don't forget, for the mystery challenges, in my Facebook group, you can go ahead and put your what your interpretation of those 3 clues, and that's dies, Kraft Card, and harvest. And if you live in Canada, I'm giving away a stamp set. And if you live outside of Canada, I can't, due to the regulations with Stampin' Up, I can't give any product. However, I can give a tutorial away. And I have some beautiful tutorials that are just for the making to take away. All right, so I also have here, this is a piece of craft paper, and it's cut out with the stylish shapes. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you something that you may not know. I am going to emboss this because I emboss almost everything. And I want to have a thank you card. So I'm just going to come here, and I'm using the thanks from the hand pen petals. I think it's got some excellent stamp sets on here. I love this. Anything is possible. Feel better, friend. But this thanks, I want to put that on there. Now, like I say, I'm using this paper piercing mat because we want to make sure that it stamps really good. Now, I am using early espresso. And you went, why did I emboss that? I'm coming in with clear embossing. Do you know, thank you. Did you know that you can have any color embossing? And that is by doing this. You're going to take your stamp. Now, this takes a tiny bit longer to dry than the old stamp sets, but we still have to move fairly quickly. So I'm just stamping that, picking it up, and I'm going to come in with my clear embossing powder. And like I say, I'm doing this fairly quickly. And I'm just going to put clear embossing powder on there. And you notice I use a piece of cardstock. And the reason I do that is by using a spoon, I find the plastic or even the metal in the spoon, it has that static, and you have embossing powder all over the place. So You don't want that to happen. Okay, so now we're ready to do some embossing. I'll come in with my heat tool. Oops. And I'm going to come in, I'm just going to come in with the tweezers from our embossing kit. And we're just going to heat this up, and you'll see how well that works. See? And now I've got early espresso embossing. It looks like early espresso embossing powder. Just a different way of getting some embossing done. I also cut out another one of the same die from the Stylish Shapes. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to layer this on here so that I've got a red border, because otherwise it wouldn't show up so great on here. I'm just going to have it. So I'm just going to put some along there and some along here. Now, I thought what I could do is I could embellish this with those rustic gems or adhesive back, but I believe I left those upstairs because I was working on putting some card kits together. So I can't believe I'm going to go live with the classes. First one's going to be the end of this month. Still going to do most of my stuff online because I like doing it online. Okay, so we want to make sure that that's fairly straight. And see how that's going to just sort of pop up off of there. So I'm actually going to put those on with dimensionals. Cover this embossing thing because we know that things like that happen. And let's go in with our dimensionals. Here we go. Now that doesn't look like that's very straight. Let's just play with that just a bit more. That's not too bad. Thank you. Yeah, you know what? I've had this set for quite a while too. I had other visions. I'm honestly, I'm not sure exactly what I was going to do with it. I was going to do something with the cats. But I really want to do something with that crafting stuff. I think it's pretty amazing. And plus you have dies that cut that part out. All right, so this is just going to go like that. I really like the fact that that is done there. Now, we should really put something on the inside. And I'm having issues of what I should put on the inside because there's not much. I have these already cut out. Do we want to put those on there? We definitely could. We could put some apples on there too. I'd have to cut some more apples. Maybe I'll put a bunch of apples. So I'll maybe put another couple of apples in there. But I really think those rustic gems would look really good on there. Oh, you know what? I do have them here. So these are the ones I'm talking about. These are the rustic metallic things. So let's go ahead. That's going to kind of go with this rustic sort of look. Let's see if we want those on there. So don't forget to like my video. Make sure you give me the thumbs up. Your best compliments that you could give me are sharing my video. Really appreciate that if you could do that. Okay, let's just put that there and there. There. That kind of just finishes it off, doesn't it? All right. So there's to the mystery challenge. We've gone harvest. We've gone craft, a craft card. And I really did kind of go loose on there. Plus dies. There's lots of dies on this particular card. And then, like I say, I'm going to cut 2 more apples. We're going to put that in the middle there. And I think that'll work pretty good in the inside. All right. So don't forget, do your Let me come back up here. Do a card using those 3 clues. Post it in my Facebook group. In the Facebook group, there is a link down below. And on that, once a month, I do a tutorial. And yes, I would share if I could, but I don't know anyone else who does this. Oh my goodness, really? Oh, so you craft alone, Pam. That's sad. Yeah. You know, sometimes just even putting it on your Facebook page, you might have some friends that you never even knew that you like doing that. But anyways, okay. So make sure that you post one of your own cards. You could be the lucky winner of a fantastic tutorial. Trust me, our Creativity Abounds team has put together a Christmas tutorial, and man, oh man, is it ever a good tutorial. Lots of different Christmas cards using all different kinds of sets, which is kind of fun. What's happening tomorrow is my now what? It's where I pick something from my studio and I show you how to use that. And maybe it extends, or you haven't used it and you never knew what to do with it. It's like stamp sets, right? In any ways, I do crafting alone here in Nova Scotia. Oh, Pam, I'm so sorry that you. I do know some demonstrators back there. Are you a demonstrator, Pam? I'm not sure if you are or not, but in any event, that's the beauty of virtual crafting, right? Because you get to see you get to craft with people, that sort of stuff, all across Canada and across the world, actually. All right. So we will talk to you tomorrow. I go live tomorrow at 6:30 tomorrow night, Pacific Daylight Time, and I hope to see you then. All right. Have a great day, you guys. Bye for now.